Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Welcome to episode 63, May 31st, 2019. Conscious abortion, body sovereignty, and heart healing. Is it possible to have a conscious abortion? What are the spiritual messages and lessons? What does the potential spirit have to say about abortion? What happens to Spirit Baby? Is she or he lost or gone forever? Hoping my throat will get through this segment. I feel like this whole month has been a lot of energy around my voice, speaking and losing it at different times and coughing. But this is a very highly charged topic and energy that I have visited before with an episode called Sacred Abortion. It was actually, I think, in the first 10 episodes I did a few years ago. And I feel like over these years, as I've connected with women who have had abortion, termination, so many different things have been brought to my consciousness about the process, about the experience and the feelings that women are left with. And what about baby? And especially now with the media and the news, now that we have such, deep, immediate insights with the internet, the controversy, especially in America over states trying to reverse and do different things differently, let's just say, take away certain rights. And there's always the pro versus the pro-choice, pro-life is always this kind of back and forth. But, to be realistic, abortions have existed really since the beginning of time, from ancient days. This is not some new concept from the 20s or 50s. This goes back, again, to the beginning of time where women took control of their reproduction through birth control methods, through releasing unwanted pregnancies, of course, in the use of herbs and other harsh and traumatic ways. And of course, we know that religion plays a very strong emphasis on the not, having abortions, and how that has always been seeping in the Christian Judeo foundations really of the planet. A lot of that has been the majority of the influence, and how that has affected the consciousness of a lot of people. And I always feel like abortion will be one of these controversial topics, like many other topics of our body and health and connection to our spiritual. And I always feel like pro-choice, pro-life, I feel like, aren't we all both? Can we be both? That we are for life, but we are also for choice at the same time. And maybe that's a contradiction of each other, but I'm just curious to leave that in your conscious space to sit with. So much to say about this. Can you have a conscious abortion? Is this possible? I've had women come to me throughout the years asking in pre-abortion, and most of these women, we tend to believe, well, maybe these women are isolated and alone with no family and a horrible partner. And actually a majority of women do have not very positive partnerships. But the women that I have seen many have been already with children, and it's just not going to work in their kind of lifestyle. And of course there are other, experiences of medical where the baby is not compatible with life. And that's, another choice and decision that has to be made is, following through or waiting, right, or making that choice. to be more active in what it is that will look like, the releasing or the birthing, maybe a combination of both at the same time. And so when women ask me about a conscious abortion, I always say one of the big things is there's going to be grief, even if it feels like it's an empowered choice. And there's going to be feelings and emotions. I feel like it's important to know that if you are somebody that is wanting to have a conscious abortion or you feel called to that, it's really something to sit with and meditate on. It's not about running to the doctor and panicking. It's more of just sitting with the inner self and seeing what that is for the individual, energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and as also, of course, is connecting with Spirit Baby. And I feel like I'm going a little backwards here because I have all these ideas and thoughts running through my head that I want to share just based on my own experience throughout the years and what I've seen. And so let me reverse it back to pre-abortion. And so you're going to have feelings. You're going to have grief. You're going to have emotion. It's going to feel super intense because there is a separation of light. There is a soul spirit connected to this potential being, whether it is early or later termination. And so women feel that separation of light. You're conscious. You feel that separation. It doesn't mean you made a wrong choice or a bad decision. It just means that there's feelings, energy, and emotion involved. And now what are you doing with that experience? Many women want to run and have the baby. That's typically not the answer. Really, the answer comes from the beginning. So if you are in pre-abortion, you want to really just kind of sit and again, look at all the different levels of connection and connecting with partnership, connecting with baby, all these different things to know what is your best choice. Is that the best choice that's kind of unraveling and unfolding before you? And I know we call it a choice, but I always question the ultimateness of it. Is it actually really a choice? Or is it a part of the plan that this being, this ultimate bright light being knows, that this being knows what they're interacting with, what they're connecting with, what they're building around? But of course, there'll always be that mystery, that uncertainty, that not knowing. And again, that's where intuition comes in. That's where sitting in that stillness and paying attention, getting support, resourcing yourself in a way that feels productive, that feels evolving, and that feels like you can connect with a love even through the choices that are made. And so many women, that's in kind of the pre-stage, right? But what about post? Many women feel like the choices have been made, the decisions have been in action, the traumas have been experienced. And it is trauma. It's womb trauma. We're not going to deny that. We're not going to sugarcoat it, make it all pretty and nice, but there is trauma. Some have higher levels of trauma. Some are more mild. And I know there's this, in the areas of reproductive rights, some people will say, well, it's just cells and tissues, it's just a fetus or not a baby. And that's fine. You can say that if it makes you feel better, but there's always a baby attached to the potential. And that just reminds me of a woman that I met in the community many years ago, hanging out in my space, not for doing any spirit baby medium work with her, but just a fellow person in the neighborhood. And I believe she was over 50 and sitting with her, and I see this little boy spirit around her, and in my mind I'm going, don't say anything, it's not my business, it just kind of showed up and I'm just going to ignore it. And then we meet weeks later, we go on this nice hike, and then she shares that she had an abortion. So then I was like, oh, in my mind I'm going, yes, of course she did. That was as a little boy, like, hey, I'm here. She doesn't believe that there's a baby. She believes that nothing is there. And that's, she has that choice. But the choice and the truth are two different things. The truth was, I saw him before, and I'm pretty sure it is a him. I don't know if she knew all that information or not. But then it showed me something. So this little being now becomes her spirit guide, stays in her energy field, whatever that agreement was, whatever that choice is. It's her story and her connection. And I remember one time I had a woman coming to me saying, I had a conscious abortion, but now I feel bad, as I was saying that story earlier. And I said, of course you do. I told you would feel bad, because you're disconnecting light energy from a place of creation, and it feels intense. It feels traumatizing, and that's the truth of it. This is what I've seen throughout the years, and all I can say is do the work. Yes, you can create a conscious abortion, but when you see those words, conscious and abortion, not to see it as a ticket to freedom, that again, there'll be no feelings or no connections to it. And there will be guilt, there will be grief. I know there's different stories in books that may mention, especially Spirit Baby Energy. I don't know if Spirit Baby's book specifically talks about termination. I know that Soul Trek and Stories of the Unborn Soul by Elizabeth Hallett, who's a pre-birth communication researcher, when she made those books, has little clips and stories of abortion. And there's a new book that's come out by the Cosmic Cradle author Elizabeth Carmen, and we'll have to have her on here talking about her new book. And she did share with me that she does have some pages that talk about babies that were going to be aborted and babies that weren't, just different stories of those connections with their families. It's very common for babies that have gone through abortion to actually come back and to be incarnated. And it's not everybody's story, but it has happened. And there's been interesting stories that I've read throughout the years of children actually remembering it in certain details and different things shared. And it's quite phenomenal. This shows you our kind of pre-birth memories and how they're a part of us. And I feel like under this space of, consciously aborting is this, I wrote a blog a long time ago about intentional miscarriage, which would be a pregnancy release. And what does that look like? And how do you do that? There's something that feels somewhat easier, right? Somewhat, to be able to work on that deep spiritual level and to see how this being would want to be released. And some people will use herbs. There are some people that believe in using, herbal earth medicine to work with that terminating energy to release the cells from the body and the potential of that body, and in collaboration with doing more spiritual work around letting go. There's always that option for consciously releasing. And, it's so interesting, even as I speak about that intentional miscarriage, again, would it be intentional abortion or intentional termination, or maybe the word pregnancy release can be a part of that as well. And as I said, so let's talk a little bit about baby energy, spirit baby. What is their part of this? What do they say? What have I seen? I can only share from my own experience. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation at times that exists, that some people will say, I feel like it's religion that really pushes the soul is, lost. I just speaking about someone in the fertility field about this, and I feel like, how can we say a soul is lost? A baby is, I've not actually seen many lost souls. And I guess it depends on the interpretation, because, when I think of a soul, I think of this, a part of who we are. It's what keeps our tissues and our bodies alive. And that part, of course, is very eternal. And how does it become lost? Unless we become a ghost. And ghost is a whole other thing. It's totally different. So a soul can be maybe misaligned, maybe for some people. Maybe they connect to that kind of frequency. But I know in the frequency that I've connected with and I've seen throughout the years is this really is a high frequency, really connecting with love. I would almost say if there was a lost soul, it would be a lower vibration. And I don't know how to see that vibration. This is probably why throughout the years I see not a majority of people have had abortion. Some people have with their conception journey. but how it's weaved into the present, because some people will have conception issues after abortion, but there's no scientific correlation to it. But there is an energetic correlation, I would say, and a spiritual connection that can definitely be shaking things up. You know, the sacral energy, the womb energy, it gets awoken in a different way, and trauma is intensified. And, you know, but babies will come through traumatic wombs. Again, as I always say, they do. They come through wombs different ways and at different times. And, you know, there are certain, you know, interventions that have, you know, that do traumatize the womb, even beyond abortion, even with birth, even with cesarean birth, even with, you know, obsessive amounts of poking and prodding into the uterus. You know, so many different layers and levels of trauma to really receive in that space. But there's also a way to heal, to nurture, I feel like to cocoon, to give a certain connection of love to. So baby's energy doesn't really become lost. You know, I read a book about that a long time ago, and I'm like, what is this junk? Maybe misplaced at times, baby's energy. Because so when I've seen babies that have been through abortion, I do question some of the people that come to me. Sometimes they tell me, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes the babies will ask me, and they'll show me. There's certain energies that they show me, and then I look at them and I go, oh, and I ask the mother, who may not be a mother currently, or if she may be, I say, oh, baby's showing me have you had an abortion or some type of birth loss? And, you know, a lot of times it's like, yes. And I would say, you know, as I'm speaking about this, one time there was an abortion energy between mother and a daughter, and the mother came up, and this baby was now connected to this woman who was struggling conceiving. That's an interesting lineage. I don't usually see that, where like the baby was the mom's and now it's coming through into the daughter, and they were a very close family, and I was fascinated by it. And so the soul, eternalness of the soul, again, very intelligent life force potential, knows what's happening. It's only the flesh of the body that things start getting kind of wish-washy, I feel like. Birth psychology, there's a lot of connection and awareness about babies feeling, and that's a big thing that comes up, right? What does the baby feel? And does the baby feel that separation on that very tiny, even if they're like a speck of a lentil, or even in a bigger formed body, do they feel? And of course they feel. But I feel like that's a part of the healing that you have to be able to receive if you're someone that has had an abortion, or you're thinking about this abortion as a potential way for you to just release whatever is stressing or whatever feels like it's not in harmony with your life, is that we can't be so, again, pretty and hold people back away from the truth that, yes, abortion, it is trauma for the individual emotionally and physically and spiritually a little bit, I feel like, but emotionally and physically it is trauma. And the one who has the womb, typically the woman who has to go through it, which is very scary. It could be very isolating. It could feel very, you know, stressful. It could create emotional disruption, mental instability, depression, anxiety. And then there's the other person, the father energy that has a connection as well, but it's different because he doesn't have to go through that same experience if there is a pregnancy release. And then there's pieces after, of course, the rebuilding, connecting with the body, bringing it back to really a sense of homeostasis. And doing the emotional work, I can't help but push that. Yes, there's a lot of emotional work that needs to be addressed after. It's not, you know, I'm just going to go back to work the next day. It's grief, it's time, it's even, I would say, a week or two away to go into the cocoon. And in that cocoon, asking yourself what is going on, what is happening, what is this next level of trauma? Is it more from a lineage? Are you up-leveling and changing a conscious agreement? I remember I used to have in Facebook, I archived it. It was a holistic abortion group, awareness group, and I felt like the energy couldn't sustain it. There's so much shame, grief, fear, and guilt and trauma around abortion that it literally feels like there's no room for anything else. But in this group, I thought it was great. A woman shared she and her partner were really in love, and it wasn't going to work out. And so they were going through an abortion, and she brought chakra energy healing meditations in the space and played them as she was going through the abortion. It helped her somewhat, but she still felt the trauma. Again, you can't deny that there's that traumatic connection. There's also another Facebook group I have. It's called Heart Healing. I think it's called Abortion Support for Heart Healing. And the admins, the beautiful angel admins, I like to call them, they kind of taken over the group. Me and a founder started it, and I want to say it's in the thousands from women all over the world, looking just for emotional, loving, compassionate support. No religions allowed, and of course, no selling of any religious, pushy. We try to keep the group at a really good space of not letting these kind of energies intervene. I think they just made it now so you can't random post anymore. But I want to say they hold a tight ship, those ladies, and what a blessing it is, because people said it saved them to be in that space. They just didn't know what to do, either in their country or their city. They have no support. And women need support. Women are the portals to creation. We need to offer love, compassion, and kindness, even if it goes against the choice, right? This is where people get upset, like, how can you do that, or what does that look like? And we all, have different rhythms and connections to the world, and it's very hard for people not to move into fear and judgment. For me, it's easy to hold love for women on that level because I know that life is challenging and life is messy and life is full of fear, and people deserve an opportunity to move through their healing and accelerate themselves through their traumas. So I feel like that group, those two groups, holding that space, women needing that support. And I feel like I've talked to someone who's talked in a past episode about full spectrum doula, which would be when you hear the word full spectrum doula, that doula is not only a birth doula, but they also cater to miscarriage and abortion. And many years ago, gosh, it was so long ago, and I was in the birth community, and it was really fun, hang out with the midwives and the doulas. And I was trying to figure out, where do I fit in this space? I'm not a doula, I'm not a midwife, but it was fun to go. And I joined an organization, which I think something shifted and changed, and I couldn't be a part of it. But it was really fun to hold this space with doctors too, midwives, and we were all just like, how do we support women that are going through abortion? I even had an opportunity at some point for a moment at UCLA to be an abortion doula for others. It didn't follow through only because I couldn't follow all their rules and regulations to volunteer, which is so me. And so, but I was like, I don't think it was the right energy for me. And then I think I became pregnant. So I was like, I can't show up pregnant. That's not a good place to be. But just, how to hold that emotional support. And what an amazing thing if women had. Not a shaming support, but just really unconditional love and support. Holding hands, connecting with the body, offering essential oils, just being really seen and heard that this is scary and I'm here. We're moving through it, and just to be able to process it. You don't have to talk about baby. You don't have to do anything specific. You could, I suppose, in that space, but it's really wherever the individual is just, what is that for them? What is the story now that they're working through, and the shock really of it. And and so coming back to the abortion doula. So I'm going to have someone out on the podcast, hopefully in the next weeks, that's going to talk more about what that role looks like. And I feel like it's helpful. I'm all about healing trauma, helping women create empowered experiences with their body, with themselves, to just be a part of some community, to be a part of being healthy and spiritually just awakened to their own individual journey. Again, I've never seen baby. Sometimes babies, a spirit baby, I've seen this, the beauty of the girls, the boys. They've been a part of termination. Sometimes they've come back, and sometimes they're still waiting to come back. And, some people will say, well, I had an abortion like 12 or 10 years ago. Where's that baby? And sometimes if I don't feel that baby's connected, it usually is because they already came through with another child that they had, or that baby's like not going to come through at all. They're just going to kind of stay and be that guide. Other times, I've seen babies get a little kind of annoyed, a little mad, but like a child would, And usually, if a baby has gone through abortion and they're upset, it usually has not that much to do with the abortion. It has more to do with the mother, the woman, ignoring that this baby exists. I want to say that again. It's usually the ignoring that this baby even exists. They don't want to connect because of the pain, the guilt, and, the trauma. I hear these young women going through traumatic experiences. They don't want to live it. They don't want to be a part of it. But you also can't deny, I'm going to say it again too, there is a soul, a spirit baby. They are connected. They're there. Now what are you doing with that information? Again, up-leveling your connection to this experience that you have. That reminds me that I have in my shop, I'm going to actually look for it right now and share it. I should go and maybe listen to it and see where I'm at with it, because I feel like, even my own connection and stories have changed so much. Maybe I'll offer it for a super, super easy price at some point. Could be really nice. It is called The Spirit of Healing, Accessing Healing Post-Abortion with Holistic Loving Tips and Spirit Baby Communication. Are you ready to change your awareness? What do you need next after termination? Are you open to move into deeper heart experiences? What does it mean to connect with baby in spirit? It's an instant download. It's a 90-minute class workshop with a meditation, and I'm going to actually reduce the price because I want it to be available. I don't want people to feel like, what is this, whatever. It's not even that much money, but it's like $35, making it more accessible to people to not feel like, oh yeah, what is this connection and what is this 90 minutes going to offer me? Can it really help me shift a different level of my awareness on my journey to create this conscious space? Yes, as I'm coming back to body sovereignty and heart healing, that a conscious abortion is possible. And the most important part is that you're following your rhythm, you're working with your intuition, and you're acknowledging, here I go again, spirit baby communication, spirit baby connection, and then seeing how you evolve from there. I do feel like I will talk more in other episodes about this topic as they come through, as they come along the way. And, again, such a hot, controversial topic, right? Because there would be a huge, probably, pushing against even what I'm sharing or saying. Again, I've, as the years connecting over 5 years just with different women around the world, with some with early abortion and some with late term, some things that, I'm not going to lie, very intense. But I know how to be a messenger, and I know how to actually really hold space without a lot of judgment. I would say without a lot of judgment. I want to say free from judgment, but I'm a human being, and, I like to judge my family, I should say. But when I'm sitting with people and holding their traumas and the sacredness of this human body that we have with our own spirit, it's just, there's so much that is said just without words, and I see that, and I want to hold the utmost respect and love for that. And so you will see more conscious abortion topics in Spirit Baby Radio, because I feel like it is highly valuable and important, and maybe something that can be very scary, and women feel lost and disconnected. And so we will bring it back to honesty, authenticity, and joy. Thank you for joining. And if you like this podcast, you can always subscribe or leave reviews. And check out my newest book, Sacred Communication, A Spirit Baby Journal, and learn more about my services in supporting people all around the world in private one-on-one sessions, online classes, programs, and VIP retreats.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.